Good day, folks. As you can see, I have DJI's complete consumer line of drones here in front of me, and we're going to talk about which drone is perhaps right for you. Summer is here, and perhaps you want to upgrade from an existing drone, or perhaps you're going to be purchasing your very first drone. There's a big price difference between the drones and a lot to consider. So in this video, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of each drone, some of the prices, and actually now is a good time to buy because there's a really good sale on at DJI. So let's just jump right in and take a closer look. So as stated at the beginning of this video, I have the complete current line of consumer drones that DJI is selling. We have the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0, we have the Mavic 2 series, we have the Mavic Air 2, and we have the Mavic Mini. And I'm also including the Tello. Although this is technically not a DJI drone, it does feature DJI technology inside, and it's sold on the DJI website. This week coming up is the perfect week to purchase a drone because almost every drone that DJI sells is on sale, with exception for the Mavic Air 2. So the Tello drone is a couple years old now. It is the smallest and cheapest drone you can purchase on the DJI website. This drone isn't built by DJI, but it does feature some DJI technology inside, and DJI does offer it on their website. This drone doesn't cost a lot of money. It comes in at $99, and for the most part it's considered a toy grade drone. If you're into cinematography and that's what your primary interest is, this isn't really the drone for you. Although it does have a camera on board, 720p, the image isn't that great and it's not stabilized. Now this drone is perfect if you just want something small and inexpensive to fly indoors. Although you can fly it outdoors as well, you just have to be careful on windy days. Because of its light weight and the motors are not very powerful in it, it doesn't handle wind too well. It does come with propeller guards, so if you're just learning to fly, you don't have to worry about hitting walls and different obstacles like that. This is the perfect drone if you just want to kind of dip your toes into the water to see if it's something you enjoy or not. You're not going to be investing a lot of money, and while you're learning to fly, if you happen to damage it, you're not going to be out a great deal of money. It's also a good drone for kids if you want to teach them to fly and maybe so they can partake in your hobby. Definitely a good choice for that. Now, one really important thing to note about the Tello when you purchase it is that it does not come with a remote. Use the Tello app and the smartphone to fly it. As you can see there, we're now connected and we have the Tello's video feed on our smartphone. You have a launch button and you have some virtual joysticks to maneuver the drone. Now, there are some third-party remotes that you can purchase it, and it is highly recommended. You get a better flight experience when using a remote. This one here is by GameSir. You can mount your smartphone in there just at the top. Now this remote is not designed specifically for the Tello drone. These style of remotes are designed for gaming with your iPhone, but they work quite well with a Tello drone. So let's move on to the next drone here. This is the Mavic Mini. This was released in late fall last year. Now there are some very interesting features about this drone that could make it the perfect drone for you. First of all, if this is going to be your first drone, it is fairly inexpensive. You can pick it up for $399. If you're in Canada, you can get it even cheaper at $349 for the base kit. Now what makes this drone very appealing to many people is that it only weighs 249 grams. And that can be very important depending what country you live in. For example, here in Canada, at 249 grams, you don't have to register it with Transport Canada, and I do believe it's the same in the US. On top of that, here in Canada, to fly any drone over 249 grams, you have to pass a basic pilot certificate. So with this Mavic Mini, you don't have to worry about that. You can just purchase this and go ahead and fly it. Now you still have to fly your drone in a safe manner and follow all safety protocols, but not having to register it and get a pilot certificate can be very appealing to many. So 249 grams is that magic number, and it's very similar in many other countries. It's a nice, small, compact drone, and it folds out just like all the other Mavic series drones. And the nice thing about this drone, even though it does only come in at $399, it doesn't feel like you're flying a cheap drone. DJI has done a really good job engineering this drone, and when you fly it, it's like you're flying one of the higher end drones. Now the camera on this drone is only 2.7K compared to 4K like most of the other drones, but the image quality on it is quite good, and 2.7K is more than acceptable, and especially if you're just going to be using the footage to upload to things like social media, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. It's got several smart, intelligent features built into it, so you can get some really interesting shots without having a lot of piloting skills. Another nice feature of this drone is that the batteries are fairly inexpensive, so if you do want to load up with batteries, you can do so at a reasonable price. Another nice feature of it is that you can actually recharge the drone and the batteries via USB. For those who like to travel and are away from traditional power, you can bring along a power bank and charge up the drone quite easily. So not only is this drone good for new pilots, it's great for people who want to travel lightly. If you're a backpacker or do a lot of traveling and you need to pack light, definitely a drone like this is a good choice. And even though you cannot shoot 4K video on this drone, the 2.7K video is quite good. you can actually get some really beautiful shots with a small little drone that's not going to cost a lot of money. So the Mavic Mini is a great choice for beginners, and it's also a great choice for those who want to pack light. Now, one thing to keep in mind with the Mavic Mini is that it has no obstacle avoidance sensors on it. We do have some sensors here on the bottom, but that's about it. Unlike DJI's higher end drones that do have obstacle avoidance, you do have to take some precaution when flying and be aware of your surroundings. The other thing to note about the Mavic Mini is that if you're going to be purchasing a drone because you want a drone that can follow you, the Mavic Mini does not have that capability. If that's something that's important to you, there definitely are some better choices. So the next drone up in price point is the Mavic Air 2. You can pick the base kit up for $799, and this is DJI's latest release. It was released about a month and a half ago. Don't let the lower price of this drone fool you. It is one powerful, capable drone. This drone here actually shoots in 4K 60, and the only other consumer drone that does that is the Phantom 4 Pro, but with it you have a much higher price tag. In fact, the Mavic 2 series, which are also fairly expensive, they don't even shoot in 4K 60. Video shot in 4K 60 gives you a little bit more flexibility if you want to slow down your shots and give it a more cinematic feel. Now, the camera on the Mavic Air 2 features a 1/2-inch sensor. It's a 12 megapixel camera, but because of the quad Bay processor, you're able to take 48 megapixel photos. The Mavic Air 2 folds out like all the other Mavic series drones, and it features a battery that lasts for 34 minutes. Now, you're not going to get 34 minutes of flight time in real world situations, but it does give you ample amount of flying time. Now, if you decide to step up to something like this from the Mavic Mini, you are getting a drone that is a little bit heavier and a little bit larger. So with a drone like this, you do have to register it, and in Canada, you do have to pass a pilot certificate. But don't let that scare you off. It is a very simple procedure. The other upgrade you're getting from something like the Mavic Mini is that you do have obstacle avoidance on this drone. We have 2 here on the front. You can see there we have 2 sensors on the back, and we also have some sensors on the bottom. We also have an LED light on the bottom, which can come in handy in some situations. Now, when you compare the capabilities of the Mavic Air 2 compared to something like the Mavic Mini, you do have a lot more options when it comes to features. For example, we have Active Track 3.0, which allows the drone to follow you while you're doing certain activities. We have Point of Interest, which allows you to get some really dynamic shots. And we also have a feature called Spotlight, which allows the drone to stay locked onto you while you're flying the drone. There's also more quick shots built into the app, again allowing you to get some really interesting shots without having a lot of piloting skills. Another nice feature of the Mavic Air 2 over something like the Mavic Mini is we have a feature called APAS. With APAS, it allows the drone to automatically find a route around an obstacle, whereas something like the Mavic Mini, if you were to fly directly into a tree, it would just hit it. With the Mavic Air 2, you have the option to turn APAS on and off. With APAS off, if you were to fly into an obstacle, it would just stop in front of the obstacle. With APAS enabled, it would try and find a safe route around the obstacle. So definitely a nice feature for both new and experienced pilots. Now, to me, one of the best features of the Mavic Air 2 over something like the Mavic Mini is OcuSync 2.0. If you're not quite sure what that is, basically it's the transmission system that uses to transfer data from the drone to the controller. With the Mavic Mini, it uses enhanced Wi-Fi, which is not too bad, but the range on it is limited, especially if you're going to be flying in an urban center with a lot of Wi-Fi interference. You can get a lot of breakups of the video feed and even disconnections. On top of that, you're also limited in range. Now, something like the Mavic Air 2 with OcuSync 2.0, it's rated at 10 kilometers range. Now, you will never get that far with a drone like this, but if you've ever flown an OcuSync drone compared to a Wi-Fi drone, you know it's like a day and night difference. The feed coming to your display is rock solid. There is no breakup. You can actually get quite far with your drone while still maintaining a nice solid connection. To me, it's one of the nicest features of the Mavic Air 2. So definitely I think the Mavic Air 2 is a great choice for both new pilots and experienced pilots. Now, another nice benefit of purchasing something like the Mavic Air 2 over the Mavic Mini is that you can fly in wind speeds that are much higher. The Mavic Mini does not too bad of a job in wind, but if you're getting up into high wind gusts, definitely it can affect the performance of the drone. The Mavic Air 2 handles wind beautifully. So in situations like that, it's nice because you're not limited by windy days. You can still get out on fairly windy days with the Mavic Air 2 and get a good flight in. So let's talk about the Mavic 2 series now. As you can see here, I have both the Mavic 2 Pro and the Mavic 2 Zoom. Both aircrafts are identical. The only difference on them are the cameras. The Mavic 2 Pro has the 1-inch Hasselblad camera, and the Mavic 2 Zoom has a nice zoom camera. The Mavic 2 Pro has the 1-inch sensor, so across the board, you're going to get better video quality. You're going to get more dynamic range, and you have the flexibility of shooting in 10-bit color. Now, when you take a look at the camera on the Mavic 2 Zoom, it has a smaller sensor, but you have the ability to zoom in. So if you're an aerial photographer and you want to take pictures of wildlife, maybe some deer, bears, different things like that, this camera allows you to get nice and close in without disturbing them. It's It's also great for inspection. You can get a nice close-up shot of something without putting your drone in harm's way by getting too close to the object. Now, you won't have as much dynamic range because it doesn't have the 1-inch sensor, but for the average person, that's something you're probably not even going to notice, and the drone does cost quite a bit less. With the sale that's going on right now, you can pick up the Mavic 2 Pro for $1,419, and you can pick up the Mavic 2 Zoom for $1,169, so there is a significant price difference there. Other than that, all the specs and features are pretty well the same of the aircraft. Now, one interesting feature that the Mavic 2 Zoom has over the Mavic 2 Pro is that you can do dolly shots. That's kind of like that Alfred Hitchcock kind of look where you're zooming in but also pulling back at the same time. It looks kind of interesting. Now, that's not a huge feature that a lot of people really care about. You can only use that effect so much, but it is something kind of fun you can play around with the Mavic 2 Zoom. Now, when it comes to features that you have with the Mavic 2 series over something like the Mavic Air 2 or the Mavic Mini, the first is waypoint missions. With the Mavic 2 series, you can go in and create waypoints on a map and fly predetermined routes. So that's a feature that a lot of people make use of and a lot of people like. You're unable to do that at this current time with the Mavic Air 2. They may add it down the road, who knows, but at this point you can't do that. Now, another feature that the Mavic 2 series has over the Mavic Air is that it has omnidirectional obstacle avoidance. Now, it's not complete 360-degree obstacle avoidance, but it does give you a few extra sensors. As you can see here, we have a sensor on the side, and we have a top-facing sensor as well. So the Mavic 2 series does offer a little bit better obstacle avoidance. Now, the Mavic 2 series is a larger and heavier drone. It can fly faster. It's also an OcuSync drone, so you do have good transmission range, and it handles the wind even better than something like the Mavic Air 2. Now, with the Mavic 2 series, you also have the option of flying with a smart controller. This is a really incredible controller. It has a nice bright screen built in, so you don't have to worry about mounting a smartphone. It has a lot of other really interesting options. You can buy this separately, or you can buy it bundled in with the Mavic 2 series drones. Now, DJI has stated that the Mavic Air 2 will be compatible with the smart controller at some point via a firmware update. That firmware update isn't available as of yet, but hopefully it will be soon. So that will definitely be another advantage of the Mavic Air 2 once they do make it compatible. So if photography and cinematography is your top priority, and you're looking for a drone with a 1-inch sensor with 10-bit color, or perhaps the ability to zoom, then definitely the Mavic 2 series is your best choice. Now, other than what we've already talked about, such as the 1-inch sensor and some extra intelligent flight modes, you're not really getting much more of an upgrade coming from something like the Mavic Air 2 to the Mavic 2 series. In fact, the Mavic Air 2 is more advanced in many ways, such as longer flight time, and some of the intelligent flight modes included in the Mavic Air 2 are next generation compared to what was included with the Mavic 2 series. Now, lastly, let's take a look at this big brute. This is the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0. Now, this drone was just brought back into circulation in early 2020. Most of 2019, it was unavailable for purchase. They had sold out. A lot of people were happy that they brought it back because it's kind of the flagship. It's kind of what made DJI what it is today. Now, the benefit of a drone like this over some of the folding drones that we've just looked at is that it is super powerful and super fast. It's probably the best, most agile drone that you can purchase in the consumer market. Wind is not even really an issue you have to consider when flying the Phantom 4. It can handle some pretty intense wind. Just like the Mavic 2 Pro, it also has a 1-inch sensor. And one difference of this camera compared to any of the other DJI consumer drones that they sell is that it actually has a mechanical shutter. So that helps eliminate rolling shutter in some situations. This is also an OcuSync 2.0 drone, so you're going to get good range from it. And just recently, it was made compatible with a smart controller as well via an update. So that's actually a nice feature as well. With the sale going on right now, you can pick this up for $1,419. Now, there's two different versions of the drone that you can purchase. You can purchase it with the standard remote, which is what I have here. This remote allows you to either connect a smartphone or a Crystal Sky, which is the connection that I have on there right now. Or you can purchase the version that has the built-in screen. If you decide to purchase the version that does have the built-in screen, it comes in at $1,819. That built-in screen is kind of nice in some situations because it's just like the smart controller in the fact that it has a nice bright 1000 nit screen. Now, one obvious problem with the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0 is that it is quite large. It doesn't fold down, so it's not very travel friendly. Now, if you're a person who just flies out of your car, you go on road trips, pack your drone in the back of your car, it doesn't really matter about how compact it is. If you're a person who travels, if you're a backpacker, or you like to hike with your drone to get some shots of your adventures, Something like this is probably not your best choice because it is quite large. Now you can purchase backpack cases for the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0, but the backpacks are quite large, and by the time you get the batteries in, the controller in, you don't have any room for any other gear. And with all that in there, it gets quite heavy. And that's where some of these folding drones come in, and why they're so popular nowadays is that they're easy to travel with. Now when you take a look at something like the Mavic 2 Pro, it is almost just as capable as the Phantom 4 Pro V2.0. However, you cannot shoot in 4K 60. It only does a maximum of 4K 30, and you don't have the mechanical shutter. So definitely, if portability is high on your priority list, something like the Mavic series here is probably a better choice for you. Well folks, there's some food for thought for you if you are in the market for a new drone. Now one question I do get on my channel quite a bit is people ask me what drone should they purchase, especially with the release of the Mavic Air 2 and its capabilities. They're wondering whether they should get a Mavic Air 2 over something like the Mavic 2 Zoom or Mavic 2 Pro. It's a really hard question for me to answer because I don't really know exactly what people's needs are or what their budget is. But for myself, if I did not own a drone and I was going to purchase one drone, I would have to say it would be the Mavic Air 2. And I base that on basically the cost versus what the drone is capable of. I've been flying this drone a lot over the last couple weeks, last month and a half actually. I've been super impressed with the video quality and the footage that it can capture. It has a lot of features that people need. The only really big difference between something like this is it doesn't have the 1-inch sensor, but again, for most people that's not something that they would even really notice. If you took some footage from the Mavic 2 Pro, compared it to footage from the Mavic Air 2, most people would barely be able to tell the difference. Now, it would have been nice if the Mavic Air 2 had some side sensors similar to the Mavic 2 series. You just have to use a little extra precaution when it comes to flying around objects. But between the front sensors, the back sensors, and the bottom sensors, you do still have quite a bit of obstacle avoidance. So yeah, that would be my choice. If I had to purchase one drone right now, knowing what I know about all these drones, it would be the Mavic Air 2. It's $799 and you get one very capable drone. And once they make it compatible with the DJI Smart Controller, it is going to make it one very appealing drone. Well folks, that's basically it for my video. Hopefully you got some value out of this video if you are in the market for a new drone and weren't quite sure which one to maybe focus on. If you have any questions about any of the drones, please feel free to post them down in the comments. Either myself or somebody else within the community will gladly answer them for you. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.